To say that Tanya was out of it that morning would be an understatement. After her brother's mysterious disappearance from the park right under her nose, she scoured the city like a madwoman. She mobilized all her available personnel and resources she had managed to gather, but nothing. She found zero traces. She had looked not only with technical methods, but with magical ones too. Useless. He had vanished into thin air, and that could only happen in one of the ways known to her. For example, teleportation. Did that Partridge girl come back for him? Bad news if so. She only returned near dawn. She returned in a foul mood. She returned and found the sought-after subject snoring in his bed. What did this all mean? Tanya immediately set about finding out what happened and was not shy about her methods when investigating him. By the looks of it, he was completely healthy. The hole in his stomach was gone as if it had never been there. Just a miracle. But that had been a very, very serious wound. For it to vanish on its own? Impossible. She examined him both physically and magically. Nothing special, though not entirely. It seemed to her that her brother had become slightly stronger? He had subtly changed in some way. She immediately ran an appraisal. Bingo. Status. Name, Hayudo Issei. Race, demon, human. Evolutionary index, E. Her brother's race had changed to demon. What a twist. Tanya had only met one other demon, and that encounter hadn't inspired her at all. His evolutionary index, EI, had also changed, rising by 1 rank. The EI is something like the evolution level in Big Brother Pervert Y system, which determines an individual's degree of evolutionary development. She still hadn't fully understood all its features, but she knew for sure that it had a huge influence on an individual's power level. If speaking in game terms, it provided a sort of fixed multiplier that increased all your characteristics, be it stats or skill power, directly determining your basic power level. Obviously, this was a very important indicator, so much so that it couldn't be raised by ordinary methods. Special conditions had to be met. Tanya herself had gone through this and shed no small amount of sweat. Well, her, fine. But how did her brother do it? An ordinary person without specific knowledge, special training, and the system generally cannot do this. An average adult EI is always F, yet her brother somehow raised it to E, although there was only one explanation, the race change effect. Tanya calmed down. Guessing was pointless. In any case, it was good that he was at least alive and relatively healthy. But none of this was a coincidence. This was far from the end of the story. She assigned her people to surveillance, anticipating that something would happen. And so it did. First, everyone forgot the very Yuma. Is this how they cover their tracks? Quite the operation, she had to admit. In any case, whoever this was, she would get to the bottom of it. She waited, and not in vain. Finally, a few days later, someone made their presence known. The fish has taken the bait, cuckoo. Right now, having received the signal, she was speeding through the air toward the theater of operations. Over. What's the situation? Report. She yelled into the headset connected to her radio. She was rushing toward the park. The wind roared in her ears and the radio static grated on her nerves. She hadn't forgotten about her disguise. At the moment, she was in a black uniform suit that completely concealed both her figure and her face. The last thing she needed was to be recognized, as she was quite a well-known personality, thanks to her achievements. She was also constantly bothered by one main question. Why on earth would anyone want her brother? First, they wanted to kill him. Now they've turned him into a demon. His only outstanding quality was his knowledge of pornography. It was doubtful that they were hunting him for that reason. Unless they were victims of his harassment? The static was followed by a male voice. Over. Ane-san, sorry, we couldn't take him back. We are currently retreating. A third party intervened. Bam! Boom! Ta-ta-ta! Gunshots and explosions erupted on the other side. It seems they were in serious trouble to resort to using heavy arsenal as a last resort. Apparently they were being pushed back. What kind of combat potential is gathered there? No, Ani-san, not them. One is a man with black wings. The others are some high schoolers, age 16 to 18. One of them is heavily pressing us right now. Long red hair, large chest, your Kyo Academy uniform. Huh? Tanya stared at the radio. Are you messing with me? Stop joking around or you'll regret it. Psh, psh. Bam, boom, bang, ta-ta-ta. I swear, Ani-san, it's true. God knows who she is, but she incinerated half the forest park with some black crap. There are others. One has long black hair, dressed like a shrine maiden, currently floating in the sky and striking with lightning. Tanya didn't know who that shrine maiden was, but the description of the first one? That's Rias Grammarys in the third year. What the hell is going on there? Tanya poured magical energy into her flight spell. Oda, Musashi, follow right after me. I'm going ahead, she shouted sharply, accelerating. Boom! A sound boost echoed. As you say, Ane-san, your commands are truth, mistress. Two female voices spoke in unison. These girls were her new human resources, very high-quality ones, no less useful than Yoshi. True, they couldn't fly and were currently moving across the rooftops, but she couldn't wait any longer. There was clearly some kind of devilry happening there. As she approached the park, Tanya felt a threat. She immediately activated her magical shield, pouring a massive amount of energy into it. Bang! Crack, crack! The protective spell sphere flashed, neutralizing the attack. Electrical discharges spread across it in flares. The barrier absorbed a powerful lightning strike. Tanya looked up. A bright shadow appeared slightly above. The moon, through scattered clouds, cast a pale light on the floating female figure. It was the black-haired girl in the shrine maiden outfit, and not just that. That's Akino Himejima from the third year? What in the hell is going on here? Arara, who do we have here? A newbie? Her lips stretched into a smirk. Very unexpected. Appraisal. Status. Name. Himejima Akino. Race. Demon. Fallen angel. Status. Queen of the Gremory clan Harris. Evolutionary index. C. Level 34. The appraisal gave very limited information this time, and no wonder. The higher the level of a being, the less information appraisal reveals. EI. C rank. 2 ranks higher than her brother, and the overall level, 34. Unbelievable. The appraisal also highlighted something else important. She was a demon, and a fallen angel? 2 for the price of 1? Seriously? She was significantly different from those Tanya had met before. This one, unlike those mutants and partridges, was on a completely different level. Tanya sighed to herself. She was clearly in luck. Himejima Akino. She wouldn't be an easy opponent, but what did that change? Exactly, nothing. She would simply execute the assigned task as always. What did your perverted body get mixed up in, brother? Tanya focused on the target. Let's see what you can do. Sparks of lightning ran along Akino's hand. The clouds answered her in kind and released several flashes of discharges. Just as she pointed her finger at Tanya, then, bang, crack, crack, the lightning didn't even notice her maneuver, striking the barrier exactly. Tanya was thrown sideways. The barrier rippled, almost breached. Tanya aimed at her, setting the fire mode to 3 rounds. Magical powers surged, transforming into an explosive spell, a burst. Ta-ta-ta, boom, boom, boom. A series of explosions erupted. The bullets with the overlaid explosive spell hit the target precisely. Akino disappeared behind the rising wave of boiling hot air. Tanya held her breath, waiting to confirm the result. A second later, her unharmed figure reappeared in the light. Protective magical circles glowed brightly around her. Ah, well, of course. Who would have doubted it? Just as sparks began to run along her hand again, Tanya fired another volley. The roar of explosions echoed in her ears. The crackle of lightning filled the sky. The aerial battle between the Lightning Shrine Maiden and the former Imperial Army Major was in full swing. Cracks appeared on the protective barrier here and there. After every impact, she had to feed it energy, lest Big Brother Pervert let it shatter. It was hard to withstand her blows. Dodging was impossible. Lightning is lightning. No matter how fast you are, lightning is still faster. Tanya's attacks seemed to have almost no effect. She blocked all her volleys with magical circles, which served the same purpose as her barrier. Boom, boom, boom. Damn it. At this range, I'm at a disadvantage. At this rate, her entire reserve could be depleted. She couldn't allow a battle of attrition. She couldn't give her time to prepare a spell. The rifle disappeared into the spatial pocket, and two familiar Israel-made micro-Uzi submachine guns appeared in the light. Xan's blessed rate of fire was 1,250 rounds per minute. A 30-round magazine emptied in just 0.95 seconds. However, it only made sense to use it at a distance of up to 100 meters, as accuracy beyond that was terrible. It was good weaponry, but the main problem was that at that rate of fire, Tanya was unable to manually enchant the rounds. Cool, but no one is stopping me from enchanting them in advance. Let's see what you say to that. Tanya instantly closed a distance to 50 meters from her. An excited smile was reflected on her face. In response, she was met with narrowed eyes showing a hint of interest, as if evaluating her. Well, show this a big sis what else you can do, lick. She ran her tongue over her lips. Big sis is waiting impatiently. Trrrr, toot. The Uzis aimed at her erupted in a frenzied burst. Boom, 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 boom. A deafening roar echoed in the heavens. Magically infused rounds unleashed a series of continuous explosions. The air heated up so much that a super dense fog formed. The heat from the explosive waves was felt even through the barrier. It was impossible to tell what was happening inside the mini-sphere of hellfire. Tanya ejected the empty magazines. The fog gradually dissipated. Finally, her figure reappeared in the light. But on her lips, an excited smirk still lingered. Damn it! What kind of defense does she have? Of course, pre-enchanted rounds had less than half the explosive power, but considering their intensity and quantity, arara, not bad, not bad. You haven't disappointed this big sis, lick. But that's not enough. Now it's Big Sis's turn. The heavens thundered. A bad feeling pierced her like a needle. Boom, 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 boom. An insanely powerful lightning strike hit the barrier. The sphere flashed, desperately trying to neutralize the force of the blow. However, it quickly began to ripple. Cracks appeared. Tanya immediately poured in magical energy. The cracks healed only to be replaced by new ones. Finally, after a few moments, the charge began to fade. This is bad. At this rate, there will be nothing left of my reserve. She needed to change tactics. If fighting you at a distance is not an option, a smile again lit up her face. Let's see what you can do. The space rippled again. The submachine guns were sucked inside, and then she pulled out a bundle of 5 M67 offensive grenades. Infusing them with a lion's share of energy, she immediately rushed toward her. The safety pins flew down, and then the bundle of 5 itself appeared right up under her nose. Incredulity flashed across her face, and then boom, 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 boom. In a normal situation, shrapnel and the blast wave posed no danger to a strong magical barrier, but if they were magically enhanced, the effect became astonishing. The only problem was that the charge had to be activated as close to the target as possible. Otherwise, breaching the barrier was impossible. But if everything is done right, cool. Hovering at a short distance, Tanya peered into the fog. Finally, the smoke cleared. Wow, still alive. But then again, the magical circles were entirely covered in cracks. Blood was streaming down her left arm. Ha! Finally, you felt it, cool. She looked up. A light shiver went through her body. That gaze, Tanya knew it well. A gaze that promised to tear the prey apart with bare hands. The look of a predator tired of playing games. Sparks flashed in her eyes, and her aura flared sharply. Behind her appeared black wings? Well, there's your demon. She was completely different from that Mietmut. The heavens responded with thunder. Tanya looked up. Flashes of discharges illuminated the sky, pulling the clouds around them. The moonlight was hidden behind them, but despite this, the space was perfectly illuminated. "It seems it's time to stop playing games," she hissed. "Something's coming." And Tanya wasn't sure she could block that blow. The bad feeling intensified. Damn it, looks like there's no choice. I'll have to use this. Tanya reached for her chest, clenching her palm into a fist. Her curse. The heavens opened. A massive lightning bolt crashed down from above. But before she could do anything, an arc of crystal white light flashed before her eyes. It slashed through the discharge, and the next moment, the lightning broke apart into sparks. Cool. They made it in time. Following the dissipation of the lightning, bang, a deafening explosion erupted, plugging her ears. Akino was thrown sideways, and her magical seals shattered. The shrine maiden's figure fell to the ground. "Akino!" A desperate female scream came from below. Suddenly, Tanya felt as if someone had swallowed the light below. Silence and complete darkness descended upon the area. She looked closer. Some dark substance had engulfed a whole square of the forest park. After a while, it disappeared, but in its place, nothing was left, just a dead wasteland. Tanya shivered. Her human resources were there. Her capital, which she had cultivated and nurtured for so long. Her personal living shields. "Oh, you bitch!" A group of people in dark uniforms appeared in the middle of the wasteland. 7 people lined up behind one figure. He stood out especially with his huge height. He wore full dark armor, radiating a midnight gloom into the space. It seemed to absorb the light itself. Its color was so black, as if the mother of darkness herself resided within. Wisps of smoke, resembling dusky shadows, streamed from the armor. "Yoshi!" Kicking up a cloud of ash, Tanya landed nearby. "No way! Even the ground is cracked." She ran up to him and placed her hand on the armor. "He's here, alive. All that training wasn't for nothing." But the next moment, the figure in armor slumped to the ground, raising a cloud of ash. Brother, Yoshi! He saved us! Brother, no, don't die! He protected us! He covered us!" Hysterical screams mixed with sobs immediately followed. "Shut up! He's fine. Did I put you through all that hell for nothing? Quickly, drag him back. Execute the order." "Ane-san! Ane-san, you came!" Oh, if Ane-san is here, there's nothing to fear." What to do with this horde of barbarians? Tanya could only sigh. "Of course I came. Or did you think I could rely on you idiots?" A sly girl's voice was heard. A female figure appeared in the light, clad in black, tight-fitting suit. In her hands, she held an antique 16th century musket, which looked very strange in the modern era. "Ane-san, you were inimitable." Stars twinkled in her eyes as she looked at Tanya. Then she listened to something and turned her gaze to a completely empty spot. "Musashi, come out now. What's with that stupid habit of always hiding?" "At least it's better than yours, always showing off and proving your uselessness, Oda." The reply came with a slight delay. Another female figure emerged from the shadow into the moonlight. She was outwardly completely identical to the first. A sophisticated blade shone with crystal silver light in her hand. "Mistress, your commands?" She addressed Tanya in a voice like spring leaves. "Excellent. Everyone is present." Tanya glanced at her personal guard. Then she turned her gaze back. "How dare you? How dare you? Who are you?" The girl with the dark crimson hair was simply blazing. "Though no, I don't care who you are anymore. To treat my servants like this, it looks like I need to teach all of you a lesson on how to treat the heiress of the Gremory house." Heiress of the Gremory house? The phrase snagged Tanya's ear. She ignored the screams and assessed the situation. There's the brother. Looks like he's alive. A recovery spell on his body was slowly healing the wound on his abdomen. Appraisal. Status. Name. Haidoyo Hisei. Status. Pawn of the Gremory house heiress. Level 13. Conditional. Effects. Pawn. Ability to promote to any piece except king in enemy territory. Forcibly turned. Negative effects on characteristics and abilities from the forced elevation of the evolutionary index will persist until the body adapts. As expected, everything was exactly as Tanya had surmised. Sigh, you really gotten yourself into this one, brother. Well, at least he won't die, that's good. I'll deal with him later. Tanya shifted her gaze to Gremory. There were a few other figures behind her. She recognized them all. Koneko from the first year, lying unconscious, minor injuries. Clearly Yoshi's work. He doesn't like to seriously maim even enemies. Status. Name. Tojo Koneko Sharon. Race. Demon. Nekomat. Status. Rook of the Gremory house heiress. Evolutionary index. D. Level 22. Effects. Rook. Strength and constitution ×2. She wasn't simple either, quite strong, and most importantly, well-balanced in characteristics with a bias toward strength and constitution. You wouldn't think such a small thing was so sturdy. Though she certainly didn't measure up to Yoshi, she would have taken care of that partridge or mutant in a heartbeat. Evolutionary index. Weaker than Akino, but one rank higher than her brother. Sigh, and how did I not notice the devils lurking in the school before? At this rate, I need to scan everyone. Akino was nearby, still alive. Well, they are not that simple. Another guy was sitting next to Gremory. He was kneeling, supporting himself with a sword. He looked at their group with a heavy gauze, and blood was streaming from a piercing wound on his right shoulder and thigh. And here was Kiba, the universal favorite, a Casanova and every girl's dream, except Tanya's, of course. Coo, he left himself open. Of course, it's not easy to block magically enchanted bullets with a penetrating effect. My handiwork after all, heh. Status. Name. Yuto Kiba. Race. Demon. Human. Status. Knight of the Gremory house heiress. Evolutionary index. D. Level 25. Effects. Knight. Agility ×2. Not bad, especially the agility. Of course, he lacked balance as there was a strong bias towards speed and reflexes, but Tanya herself was similar. Perhaps besides Akino, Kiba is the most dangerous. And standing menacingly in front of everyone was the scarlet figure illuminated by the moonlight. She was truly beautiful. Even in this girlish body, Tanya could appreciate it. Though right now, she looked more like an enraged fury. Her entire body exuded a dark, sepulchral black substance. Her crimson hair flowed against the night sky. Who are you? Heiress of the Gremory house? What did you do to my brother? And what do you even care about him? Status. Name. Rias Gremory. Race. Demon. Pure-blooded. Status. Heiress of the Gremory clan. Evolutionary index. C. Level 37. Oh-ho-ho! Not bad. Evolutionary index, as expected, is the same as Akino's. Level 37. This will be tough. With such a level, even without knowing her exact characteristics, one could safely assume she was capable of raising the entire school in a couple of minutes. What monsters have ended up as classmates? A pure-blooded demon, huh? So she's behind all this. Where did she come from that Tanya never even noticed her? By the way, it didn't look like they were trying to kill her brother. Rather the opposite. Otherwise, why even heal him? And that was good, because taking him back from such a crowd while he was a hostage would be difficult. But
That was another question. There was something Tanya simply had to know. Why on earth did they even come for him? Moreover, turning him into a demon? A pawn? Gremory, are you thinking too highly of yourself? He is my property. Well, now prepare yourselves. Not even ashes will remain of you. Gremory's dark aura increased in size, a dark torrent flooding all the space behind the scarlet figure. Black leathery wings spread out behind her back. A bad feeling pressed down on her. The danger was off the charts. She felt it with all her instincts. It was no wonder that even Yoshi was knocked out. Oh, mistress, shall I deal with it? The girl with the sword addressed her. No, Musashi, I feel you won't have the skill to completely suppress this power. Alas, it seems there's no choice. Her hand reached for her neck. You will feel the wrath of the Princess of Ruin. The fury exploded with a new surge of dark substance, her palm clenched into a fist. The sky was obscured by the flow of darkness. This substance, as if alive, assessed the situation and rushed at them. Tanya appealed to her curse. Holy Mechanic, Illinium 95. Activation.